Hi guys, I hope you guys are having a great summer. I've been doing a lot of traveling and a lot of sketching and a lot of adventures. So I just need to sit my butt down and edit a lot of fun things and share them with you guys. And today I wanted to show you my horror sketchbook. I showed you guys the first 3 pages of my horror sketches. And I want to give an update on that because I've since to watch some more horror movies and sketch those. So let's check it out. Yay! All right, guys. So this is my horror sketchbook, and I started it in February of this year. And the first one was the monkey I saw in the movie theater. And I also saw the Wolf Man, and I also saw The Conjuring. So if you want to hear more about that, that is on episode 9. But we are going to talk about The Conjuring 2. And so I'm really enjoying this horror series. I want to watch all the Conjurings. And I know Annabelle is involved with this too, so I want to eventually watch that too. The next one I did was The Shining, which is one of my favorite horror movies. I've watched it before. I haven't seen it in a while, and I decided to watch it with my kids. And it's funny because I was telling my kids how creepy this movie was, but they were not as creeped out. But the style of movies are so much different nowadays than it was back in the day, and just like the suspense was just so well done in this movie. So I decided to sketch. I've read the book also, by the way, and I love the book. And one of my favorite things I always say that wasn't in the movie was, remember if you've watched the movie, if you haven't, I don't want to give it away. So this is a spoiler alert for the book and the movie. There's a topiary garden with a maze, and they have like those topiary garden animals, and in the book they come alive and like, try to like attack people and stuff. And in the movie they didn't do that. They did have the maze, but they didn't have the topiary animals come to life and attack people and scare them. So that's one thing I wish Stanley Kubrick included in the movie, but he didn't. But I digress. Anyways, the scenes I decided to sketch was the little boy, how he goes around the hotel with his little tricycle there. I just like, I gotta totally sketch that because I think it's so cool. And even just the sound of the wheels hitting like the hardwood floor and then the carpet. It was just so well done. And I could imagine being a little kid, like, with a tricycle, going through that hotel, and how fun that must be, like to have the whole place to yourself and just be like rolling around in there. The other thing I wanted to sketch was the typewriter, because he's working on a book, and he's got his smokes there, and he's got his old-fashioned typewriter, which probably wasn't that old-fashioned back when the movie was created. But so I'm like, oh, I have to totally sketch that. And of course, room 237 with that creepy situation. I will not mention it in case you haven't seen it, but room 237 was pretty creepy. All right, guys, the next one is The Woman in the Yard, and that's a newer movie. It's a 2025 movie, and I must say this was a surprise ending for me and maybe other people too. I was not expecting this ending. So that was super interesting. But the scene I decided to sketch was just the creepy scene of the woman in the yard. And there was a neat little barn near there too. But so I decided to sketch that. I must say, the actors, I remember the children, I watched this back in May, but I remember I was like so impressed with the children actors in this movie, particularly the boy. Like, he was just a really good actor. I thought it was like kind of like a tough role that he played, and he did a really good job. But anyways, that is The Woman in the Yard. Guys, I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite movies I've watched in a while. It is called The Visit, and I hadn't heard of it, but one of my buddies told me about it, and I decided to watch it. And so it's called The Visit, from 2015. And boy, like, I watched this with my family and we all immensely enjoyed it. And we were talking about it for a few days after watching that. And I always feel like that's a good sign of a cool movie. Like, if you're still talking about it a day or two later, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. It was done very interestingly. It was in the point of view of the granddaughter, filming this project, visiting her grandparents. And I will not tell you anything more, but I loved it. And I wrote here, it's best if you don't come out of your room after 9:30. And that's funny because that's what the grandparents told their grandchildren. It's best if you don't come out of your room after 9:30, and you will find out why. But I thought it was really good movie. So, and I decided to sketch the scene where the grandmother asked the granddaughter to crawl inside this oven to help clean it. So it was like, it was giving a little like Hansel and Gretel vibes. But I will not spoil that for you guys in case you want to watch The Visit. All right, guys, the next one I watched is called Freaky, and it has Vince Vaughn in it, and I am a huge Vince Vaughn fan. I love him. This was an interesting role for me to see him in. But basically, a serial killer trades places with a teenage girl. It was like one of those movies, those trading place movies. But it had involved with a serial killing. So there's killing and horror involved. But anyways, this was a scene where somebody's hand that had a cell phone, they were frozen, and then the hand like fell off or was cut off, I forget. But I decided to sketch that scene. I thought it was a pretty cool and unique scene, and it was all like blues. So I was like, oh, this is like a different type of thing to sketch. So I decided to sketch that. Okay, guys, so this is Constantine, and this is 2005. And I am a big Keanu Reeves fan. I love Keanu Reeves. I loved him in Point Break. I loved him in The Matrix. I loved him in the John Wick series. I just enjoy him. I think he's a great actor, and I think he's just really nice, and I like him. Not that I've met him in real life, but I think he is. So this is the scene of Keanu Reeves, or the character, in hell. So this is the hell scene. I thought it was wicked cool. These were all like cars that are all burnt up in the city skyline in the distance. And here he is in his suit. And this is one of the times that he visits hell in the movie. So I thought it was a really neat scene, and I decided to sketch that. All right, guys, this is the final horror movie I've watched recently and sketched. I watched this in June, so a couple weeks ago, and it was the Until Dawn, which was based off of a, the video game. And I decided to sketch like the clock hourglass situation there because when that runs out, basically people are dying. So I decided to do a quick sketch of that. But it was a pretty good movie. One of the cool scenes I liked in the movie was it was raining and there was a clear division line between where it was raining and where like this horror house was. And it was just kind of neat. If you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I thought it was pretty good. But, and I think that's it. Yep, that's it. All right, guys, so that concludes my recent horror sketchbook tour. I had this idea in the beginning of February since I love horror movies and I watch them throughout the year. I was like, wouldn't it be fun if I just did a little horror sketchbook and sketched a scene of the horror movies I watch throughout the year? So I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and I hope if you guys have a suggestion of a horror movie I should watch and sketch, write it in the comments and maybe I'll watch and sketch it. That would be a super fun thing. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you soon with more adventures and sketches. Bye, guys.